Well, hey everybody, John Rentlin here, and this is hashtag Ask for Honesty episode 2. Yes, going up a day early, I apologize. I'm going to be busy this weekend and the next couple weekends. But thank you guys for the great feedback, especially on Twitter, and the amount of views that you gave last week's episode, and for the great questions for this week's episode. I'm going to try to make this a weekly series as long as the views stay up and as long as interest from you guys keeps going. And from a fellow wrestling fan to all other fellow wrestling fans watching, thank you guys so much. If you want to send in a question, I put up a pinned tweet Wednesday morning. Send in any wrestling movie related questions with the hashtag Ask for Honesty. Please include that hashtag if you're going to ask below that tweet. Find me in DM, and you don't have to include the hashtag there. Just say, hey, I got questions. Would you mind answering them? And last but not least, if you're only on YouTube and not on Twitter, please leave a comment below, and I will make sure to include it in next week's show. So, without further ado, and the fact that I only got about 38 minutes, for a lengthy video on my phone, because that's how big the files can be, I'm going to get right into these questions. So first, I'm going to start off with Polly A from YouTube, and this is going to be one that I'm going to expand on more in a future show. But they asked, if you could build your own supercard pay-per-view using any wrestlers from any era you wanted, what would that card look like? Ric Flair versus Verne Gagne, Prime versus Prime, by the way. Mr. Perfect and, Curtis Axel versus British Bulldog and Davey Boy Smith Jr. That would be pretty damn cool. I would like to see Brett versus Liger. I don't know if that ever happened. Maybe it did. I'd like to see Brett versus Kurt Angle. I would like to see, Hulk Hogan versus... I'd like to see Hogan versus Verne Gagne. That's something I would like to have seen. Nick Bockwinkel versus Ric Flair is something I would have liked to have always seen. Tully Blanchard versus Jay White. Who can out-heel the other? Vader versus Minoru Suzuki. Suzuki versus Seth Rollins. I would like to have seen Seth Rollins versus Omega. Styles versus Marty Scurll, even though I'm pretty certain that probably already happened. The Briscoes versus the Revival versus the Young Bucks. A Prime Rock and Roll Express versus the Usos. I would like to have seen that. Briscoes versus the Usos would be pretty interesting. So yeah, those are just some teases. I apologize if I didn't go too in depth. I mean, Roman Reigns versus Tama Tonga would be pretty cool, but it almost might be like oil and water. I don't know if they're somewhat similar styles and somewhat similar looks, would actually work, but it would be pretty cool. The promos would be absolutely insane, especially if they let Reigns turn loose, because we know Tama Tonga can talk. But those would be some matches. So I do apologize for not going more in depth. I may do this in a later video, but I want to try and save time for every single question. But those would be some ideas. So I do thank you very much, and I'm actually going to start writing that down sometime after this, and come up with a fantasy, the ultimate pay-per-view card. So thank you very much for that. Tanahashi versus John Cena also would be something I would like to see. So now we get to other questions. These are questions that were sent, with the hashtag Ask for Honesty. Then there were some sent in DM. Alfredo Reyes 24, he says, do you believe what Cody said, that only 5% of the WWE roster will make it in AEW? I believe it because Tony Khan said in a podcast or in an interview that he didn't want to have a bloated roster. A good roster and a roster filled with talent, but he didn't want to do a bloated roster, which is smart. Honestly, you don't want to go insane, because that's what happened to WCW to WWE, what's happening in WWE right now. Having a big roster doesn't always help. Now, having a small roster doesn't necessarily help either. Finding a good balance is key. They will use some talents from WWE. They will have no choice, because there's only so many wrestlers, even from the indies and even from smaller companies, or even from companies in general, that, they're going to be able to cherry pick from, since WWE has their big global reach. Not that other companies don't, but as far as the global reach of TV and stuff like that, and all the money and everything. Yes, AEW, funded by Tony Khan, and, everything, they have a bunch of money. They do. Clearly they do. But they're gonna have to pick some talents that are former WWE talents, but I don't know about 5%. 10% is enough, not more than 10%. There will be a few sprinkled out there. There's already a few sprinkled out there. But that have made their names in other places too, so I'm not trying to imply that. I think that's where Jon Moxley could go, and that would be something else, wouldn't it? After that video, they're like, oh, watch him go back to WWE. In that persona, they wouldn't, unless they're going to make him network exclusive and have it be TV 14 or TVMA, there ain't no goddamn way he's going back there. At least not in that persona. But yeah, I don't know about 5%, but 10% I do believe. Now, could that change later on, and could it end up becoming WWE Light? Possibly, but that's what hurt WCW, that's what hurt Impact for a bit, even though Impact has rebranded since. That's what has hurt other companies. But hopefully things go good, and hopefully the number is kept low, and they can give, talents without that spotlight exposure that chance to be seen on a worldwide stage. Jeremy8911 asks a couple questions. Thoughts on Killian Day and Tyler Breeze, Lio Rush, all rumored to be getting sent back to NXT. Killian's a lock. I think it's a good idea. He could have some good monster matches. That's what I end up saying. The monster match. With Keith Lee, Dominic Dijakovic. Why not just call him just call him Dijak, for God's sakes. Good God. They don't need to call him that. He would be a good foil, teaming up with some people against the Undisputed Era. He can make appearances in NXT UK. Killian could be used a whole lot better. Take Nikki Cross with him. And just turn them loose and have them have fun. I don't know what the fuck they're doing with Nikki Cross on the main roster. She hasn't even been featured in a while. Just fucking use the talents better or release a bunch of people. I mean, seriously, at this goddamn point, just fucking release a bunch of people. As for Tyler Breeze, perennial mid-carder, people tend to overhype how he was, used in NXT when he lost quite a few of the times. He was seen more as a bigger star, don't worry. I'm not, trying to say he wasn't. I'm not saying he isn't good. But he's going to be a mid-carder in NXT. Lio, if the rumors of Leo's backstage attitude are true, for whatever reasons there are, even though I believe he did an interview with Fightful.com where he explained his side of the story, he is young and hopefully he can learn, but he may see that time in NXT as a demotion. If he sees it as that, he's going to be gone from the company pretty goddamn soon. I'm happy for Killian, Breeze. I mean, at least he'll be used. Lio, I don't really give two shits about. Sorry, I really don't. Guy's talented. Maybe he'll grow up and mature. With the lack of depth in the SmackDown tag division, do you think WWE should move Lucha House Party there? Yeah, they should. But also his second part of the question, plus it would give them some Latino stars for when SmackDown moves to Fox. Excuse me. Yeah, I mean, that would probably be the main reason. I don't really give two shits about Kalisto. Though he's good in the ring. The act to me is already stale. I got pretty irritated with it early on. Lindsay Dorado, Grand Metalik, they're fine. So's Kalisto. They're fine in the ring. They're actually pretty good. Well, Metalik and Dorado are probably better than Kalisto. The act is stale to me, but really at this point, with the lack of depth and the fact that the Hardys are injured, I mean, why the fuck not? Seriously, why the fuck not at this point? Send them over to SmackDown. At least it's something to do. I don't know if it's going to be anything big, but it would give at least a team there, and because they got the Colognes. Well, who the fuck gives who gives a fuck about the Colognes? Sorry, I don't. I just don't. I got nothing against those people, but it just doesn't matter. And God forbid if any wrestlers ever watch my channel, they would just hear me shitting on their colleagues. But I'm just giving my takes as a wrestling fan. I'm all for it, and I think Fox actually would be for it too. More Latino stars. It would help, it would help the brand and everything, and it would please Fox. Even if they're not necessarily seen as stars, maybe they could be made into stars with the Fox deal. We then get to Noah is safe. His questions. Without much thought, rate the Halloween movies worst to best. I will probably do an entire list of this in October. The worst one has to be Halloween Resurrection. The Halloween Season of the Witch is ranked lower, but is not the worst one because it was not a Michael Myers movie. It just was what it was. They tried to make it different, and it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. The Rob Zombie movies are kind of in the middle for me. Halloween 2, the one in the early 80s. I don't really necessarily care for that one. But it certainly wasn't bad. I mean, it would probably be ranked up higher because really the top three are, Halloween H2O, Halloween 2018, and then, of course, 1978, Halloween, the original. Of course, it would have to be number one. It's still one of the best horror movies, slasher movies, whatever the fuck you want to call it, of all time. So that's what I would do. But I will probably actually expand on that in another one because actually you gave me a great idea for a horror-themed show that I will do sometime in October. I'm also going to be doing a horror-themed countdown, top 25 favorite horror movies of the last 25 years from 94 to this year. If I don't get to those pretty soon, I have a feeling I'm going to be having to include other ones. But yeah, that would be That would be how I would answer the question quickly without much thought, because let's be honest, I ain't got much thought going on up here anyway. I kid. So then we go to the second question. What would be an interesting premise for a wrestling-themed horror movie? Haunted ring that somebody is controlling with a freaking Ouija board. So Vince. It would probably be Vince. It would be Vince as the devil. That's what it would be. Haunted ring. I don't know. That's all I could think of. Haunted ring with, a pentagram found painted underneath it, or a pentagram in the floorboards that activates whenever somebody does some kind of spell. Why the fuck not? And then let's see. Who would you have beat Peyton and Billy for the tag titles? Selfishly, Asuka and Kairi, but not yet. SummerSlam. I would rather have Peyton and Billy hold them until about maybe Survivor Series. I don't know if WWE is going to wait that long. I hope the reports are true that they're going to give the Iconics a super long title reign, because they're annoying in a funny way, but they also are a legit tag team, and it would be nice to have some tag teams knocked down and everything. Plus, I want heel Asuka to turn on Kairi. Not that way. I run a clean show. I would love to see it. Moving on. I would say Becky and somebody, but no, Ember. I don't know who you'd really have it. You almost have to have Asuka and Kairi do it, but it can't be till at least SummerSlam, because you need to give the Iconics at least 4 months as champion, or as champions. Right now, I don't know who the fuck you could have do it. If they call up Io, you could have Io and Kairi do it at some point. Maybe give the Iconics a run until the Royal Rumble, and then have the Sky Pirates do it. Have Kairi and Io hold them, until and through Mania and stuff like that. But it would give the Iconics a 9-month run. In fact, that's what I'll say. Io and Kairi. Why not? And then he says, "Oh, P.S. Still waiting on that Sabrina episode 1 review." You're going to be waiting a while, because I haven't. It's the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, by the way, that he's talking about. I have not gotten a chance to watch that. I have too much shit to watch as it is. I will try to watch that maybe later this month. I might, once the Best of Super Juniors are done and Dominion is done, New Japan Dominion, which will probably be sometime in June, I will try to binge The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina and see how good it is. People won't stop banging on about it. It's like The Haunting of Hill House, which I thought was decent, but I thought it had its moments, but I didn't think it was as chilling as people said it was. Maybe I just expected more. But yeah, you might be waiting a while. I don't think you're going to get the review. Just check out my Twitter to get my opinions on it. At Valena WWE, she sends in some great questions and send in some here. With Tony Khan being so open about wanting brand new faces for AEW, why do you think they didn't keep that same motive when hiring the commentary team? I certainly think JR has lost his luster and comes across as a bitter old man these days. Thoughts? Yeah, and I love JR. JR is one of the best commentators of all time. JR has not been good since about 2009. And maybe even before that. Now, he's had health issues, obviously. He lost his wife a couple years ago. That's terrible. I'm not trying to say that personal life should not factor into it. Age catches up with everybody. Jim Cornette is somebody that does really good. That's why I'm wearing this shirt. Jim Cornette does good on commentary, but in small doses. MLW he's doing. He did great for the NWA Crockett Cup as part of the 3-man team. There's only so many announcers, name announcers, that you could have that have distinct voices that could bring fans in. But yes, I totally agree with you. They should have gone for other people, younger or something like that, maybe people hungrier. JR probably won't be on commentary for very long. Use him occasionally and it's fine. If he's invested in it, he can do well. But if it's anything like his New Japan commentary, oh, fuck no. And again, I love JR, but he did not need to be doing commentary for New Japan. It was fucking rotten. He didn't give a shit about, figuring out anything about the wrestlers. At least that's my opinion. Like him and Josh Barnett. And Barnett, was actually fine on commentary, because he's a former wrestler, I believe former MMA fighter and former wrestler. But once again, JR just wasn't very good. So I agree with you. Does he come across as bitter? Yeah, who doesn't at that age, honestly? JR has forgotten more about wrestling than I'll ever know. Honestly, he's been in the business for years, decades. But yeah, I wouldn't have included him on the team. I get why they did, but he needs to not be doing commentary very long. They should have hired younger guys. Or even a woman. Have a woman be on commentary if somebody is passionate about it and wants to do it. I don't know who. Please leave in the comments if you can think of some, women that would be good for commentary. Leave them in the and not just ones employed by WWE, but please leave in the comments ones that you think out there that would be really good talkers, former wrestlers, something. But I agree with you. JR should not be on the commentary team. Second question, why do you think WWE isn't pushing Sonya ahead of Mandy in terms of mainstream exposure? They could really benefit from a real LGBTQ female athlete as a spokesperson for the company. Why are they letting Sonya waste away as Mandy's lackey? I have been wondering that for a while, and I know you're a big fan of both of them. I have nothing against Mandy. I don't see as big of things in her as other people do. But I can certainly see that she has improved and proven me wrong for how I perceived her originally. And I'm glad she did. Because Mandy can be good in the ring. I think Sonya's better. Sonya has not gotten a chance to showcase her abilities. And not just taking the LGBTQ side out of it for just a second. I'll get back to that. Not to ignore it. She is somebody who is legit. Okay, maybe you need to tweak the little thing of like, the MMA, having the MMA background. This kind of stuff and the tough woman experience. But also if you make her cookie cutter, she's just going to be like everybody else. Personally, I think you focus on her ability in the ring. And then, yes, you push the fact that she is, the first openly gay female athlete in WWE. At least as far as I know. I mean, I don't think there was anybody else that was. And great on Sonya for being who she is. And to anybody that is part of the LGBTQ community, or as AJ Styles would say, the gay community. I don't think he pointed his hand like that. But the whole point is, Sonya, focusing on that, you can't... I'm going to be very careful with how I word this here, but the fact that she is a lesbian should be promoted. But don't just make that the sole focus. And I'm not saying that's what you're saying at all. But the company would beat you over the head with it and would get to the point, okay, we get it. How is she in the ring? We don't care about her lifestyle. Now, there are people that are just going to be freaking dicks about it because they're homophobic jackasses. Speaking to somebody that used to be a homophobic jackass, it's wrong to think that way. If you think gay people are evil or homosexuality is a sin, you're wrong. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. And except for you, because yours is wrong. Not you, Valena. I know you're, a big supporter of LGBTQ, rights and everything. And I'm stumbling over my words because it frustrates me that people are still homophobic and stupid. But moving on, they can't just make it about the fact that she's a lesbian because they would do it. They would beat people over the heads with it. And then that's all she would be. She would just be the wrestler who's a lesbian. Focus it and encompass it in a whole package. Promote her. Make her legit. She is legit in the ring. She's young. She has a big chance to really excel. I really hope that they do give Sonya a chance. Why are they letting her waste away? Mandy and Sonya are legit friends outside the ring. I think they have a YouTube channel, if I'm right. Some donut thing. They tried donuts. Which, okay, cool. I mean, whatever. I haven't been able to watch all that much of it, but they seem to be having fun. This could be something that Sonya and Mandy want to do. Maybe Sonya doesn't see herself being in Mandy's shadow. Personally, I think a lot of fans, like you, like me, see her as being in Mandy's shadow. This is not casting any, having any disparaging remarks or anything towards Mandy. I think Sonya is the bigger star of the two. I think they could both be stars. But right now, would I be surprised if it was Vince being a little homophobic and a little stupid? No, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Sonya should be pushed better. Hopefully they encompass it, or they have an all-encompassing package of her athletic ability and the fact that she can be a spokesperson. But right now, I really couldn't tell you why the fuck they do that. I really couldn't fucking tell you. And then we get this. Okay, based on the current AEW WWE roster, choose two dream matches you would like to see. One for the men, one for the women. Aja Kong versus... I would like Aja Kong in that. Kylie Ray. Or no, not Kylie Ray. Britt Baker versus Candice LeRae. Because then you could have a mixed tag if you want. And you could have Gargano with Candice. And the leader of the Undisputed Era, Adam Cole, as if I can hear you guys, with Britt Baker. Something like that. As for the men, Omega versus Rollins would probably be it. Hangman Page? Hangman Page versus Chad Gable is something I would like to see. But I would say Rollins versus Omega and Britt Baker versus Candice LeRae. Aja Kong, I was trying to think about who they would have face her. You could have it be Nia, but no. That wouldn't be all that good. Natalya versus Aja Kong would be pretty interesting. Something like that. I would just, those would be a couple matches, but Omega versus Rollins for sure. And Britt Baker versus Candice LeRae. You could... Nyla Rose, who would not... Nyla Rose versus Beth Phoenix. Actually, I think would be a pretty fun match. I know Beth is only back temporarily, but something like that. Sonya Deville versus Aja Kong. Throw something like that out there. I know I threw out a few matches, but those are just some that just came to mind. So, fourth question. I'm sorry if I went short on that one, but, you know, I might do a fantasy booking thing like that at some point once I see the finalized AEW roster. She says, watching your content over the past few years, I know this is not... By the way, I appreciate this question, so do not think that you were insulting me with this, just so you know. But anyway, watching your content over the past few years, I noticed that you tend to be set in your ways when it comes to certain wrestlers' gimmicks, storylines. Durbo also called you out on it, and he's a good friend like that. During this week's Raw review, could you see yourself becoming more malleable in the near future and giving things a chance over time instead of writing things off so quickly? And I'm not going to take way too long explaining this, but I would like to explain why I feel this way. And I totally get where you're coming from. You are right. I do tend to be set in my ways and a little too angry. Okay, a lot too angry. But there's a reason for that. I've seen things screwed up often. Things that I put time and investment in and everything from WCW, WWE, from other companies and everything, from Impact. I mean, not so much Ring of Honor because I'm not able to watch all that much. Even some stuff from New Japan, they pulled the rug out from under, even though they tend to do long-term booking over there pretty well. Not always, but often they do. With WWE, they've kind of burned me with some of this stuff. Now, trying new things is never necessarily a bad thing, and I know the one thing that people are going to point to is the Firefly Funhouse. I'm just not a fan of it. I'm just not. I'll probably touch on that in other reviews. But yes, I do tend to write things off quickly, mainly because I usually see where things are going. I'm not saying I'm smarter than other people, and maybe I'm just being a cynical jackass, which I probably am, but could I see myself doing it? Yes, there are wrestlers that have proved me wrong and have won me over. I did 2 lists about that. You have to check out the countdown video to remember to know who the hell I was talking about. Some were The Miz, you know, and Shayna Baszler and a few others. But the whole point is, I've been burned a lot by WWE. I know what they're capable of, and I know it's an entertainment program, but too often, I'll get invested in something, and then, this person's not supposed to be over. So like what they did with Rusev. Nakamura, you know what they've done with him. Some of the women, killing the Bayley Sasha program. No, I don't like the Firefly Funhouse currently. Yes, I tend to be angry towards Leo. There are times where I feel my anger is justified. There are times where I go crazy. Yes, I am an angry wrestling fan at times. But that's because I love wrestling at the same time, and I just want things to be good. Not everybody can be on top all the time. Certainly not implying that. But let's be perfectly honest. WWE is at a weird state right now. The ratings are at an all-time low. And that's because they have pissed off a ton of their fans. Now, cable isn't the only way that people can watch them. Yes, there's streaming. Yes, sometimes maybe it won't factor in internet cable. I don't know how the ratings necessarily work. But the whole point of it is, I've been burned a lot by WWE. I've been burned a lot by WCW over the years. From the time I was a kid, but especially as I got into my teen years and as an adult. Sometimes I'm wrong about where things are going, and I fully admit that. Sometimes I'm right about where things are going. I don't want to be right and be cynical all the time. I try not to be. But the WWE product has kind of burned me a whole lot, so that's kind of why I'm a cynical jackass. Will I try to do it? Yes. And Derb did call me out on it. He's a great friend for that. He's my best friend, you know, in the world. Best in the world. No. He is my best friend. And I'm glad that he did do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to pull back a little bit. I'm not going to say I won't rant, you know, angrily about things in the future, possibly Money in the Bank, depending on what happens there. Since I'll be doing that review solo. Yes, I will try to ease back a little bit, but no promises. Could I see it happening? Sure. I could also see myself winning about $80 million, but, you know, the likelihood of that is just the same as the likelihood of me, you know, changing how stubborn I am. But you and I talked about it. I got nothing against you asking that question. Thank you very much for asking it. Derek, I'm not going to say your Twitter username. Sorry, Derek, because you always change it. Derek, I love you. You're a great guy, but you change it so often. I'm just like, I see no point in using your Twitter handle. So, Derek, you know, great guy, though. One of the original people I've been talking to on Twitter. He says, who do you think is winning the Money in the Bank ladder match for the men and women? I did a video where I actually, you know, talked about who deserves the Money in the Bank briefcase. Who do I think is winning? For the men, it's Drew. For the women, it's Mandy. It's either Drew and Andrade or Mandy and Bayley. I'm going to touch on that more in the prediction videos. You know, they'll do with the Derb like in just about a week and a half from here. But that's where that's who I think is going to win. So I'm sorry if it's a bit of a short question or short answer, but that's who I think. They could have Ali win it, they could have Ember win it, and that could be really, really cool, but I don't see it happening. It would be awesome, but I think it's either Drew and Andrade, and probably Drew, or Mandy and Bayley, and it's probably Mandy. So then another question from actually WWE UK Fanatic. Do you think Sasha will come back to the company? And if she does, do you think they will bury her? And what do you think is the end game with what they're doing with Bray? Taking those in order, Sasha will come back at some point. She's got 2 years left on her contract. Unless she's willing to just sit out at home and find other lines of work, not wrestling. Maybe she's burned out on wrestling. Who knows? She's going to come back. Will they bury her? Not initially. They will bury her soon afterwards. Maybe they can come to a parting of the ways and just let her go. I don't see the point in holding on to disgruntled talents if they're upset. Yeah, maybe you don't want them to go to AEW or other companies or whatever, but why breed that kind of toxic environment? Because then you just got a bunch of angry people that are upset they can't get over or can't get out of the company. And then you got WCW. And WWE does not want to become WCW, even though they kind of are with their programming. But, you know, later WCW, by the way. But I do think they'll bury her if she comes back, but not right away. The end game is Bray is going to end up probably being the same character. I mean, I can see right through it. It's him, a Clockwork Orange-like thing. It's him basically finding a way to get to people and become more evil or show that he has an evil side. And I don't care for it. I just don't. I've said in the past, I'm not going to be angry about it because I could be wrong. Firefly Funhouse could turn out to be the best thing to happen to Bray. Could turn out to be the worst thing. The end game is he's just going to end up being the same character. I would not be surprised if by SummerSlam he is the same goddamn character. That's months away, but I wouldn't be surprised. And then, thank you, by the way, WWE UK Fanatic for saying that. At A Freaky Dude on Twitter, if WWE decides to showcase NXT UK talent when they go to London, who would you like to see on Raw or SmackDown that week? I mean, Rhea, but she's kind of between NXT and NXT UK. Rhea versus Sonya, based on all that, which, by the way, I talked about the Rhea Ripley situation in actually last week's episode. Rhea versus Sonya would actually be pretty cool. I would like to see Toni Storm versus Asuka. I'd like to see that. Toni Storm teaming up with somebody versus the Iconics at some point would be cool down the road. I'm not sure who you would team her with. Maybe if you kind of make Rhea and Toni an unlikely alliance, you could have them Rhea Ripley and Rena Gonzalez. Jesus Christ, can't pronounce names at all. I know that Rena's part of, or Gonzalez is part of NXT, but I'd like to see them face the Iconics at some point. Have the Iconics show up in NXT, and maybe have that kind of stuff happen. But I'd say Toni versus Asuka would be a pretty cool match. Sonya versus Rhea. I don't know. Jordan Devlin. I know you say Jordan Devlin versus Balor. They had a match at NXT TakeOver Blackpool. It was a good match, but I don't really need to see it again. Pete Dunne versus Daniel Bryan. There you go. Pete Dunne versus Daniel Bryan. For Raw, Pete Dunne versus Seth Rollins, I guess. If they really wanted to bring Dunne over there. Other than that, I can't really think of anything. I just can't. Sorry. I mean, unless you have Mustafa Ali versus Amir Jordan. Actually, yeah, that might not be that bad. That could probably be a dark match, but that'd be pretty cool. But thank you for sending that one in, by the way. AJAT 800. Do you feel unifying the WWE World Titles, WWE and Universal, can help the mid-card titles bring back some credibility for them as important championships for each roster to hunt for? Do I feel it could work? Yeah. Here's the problem. They unified them in late 2013 and had the WWE World Heavyweight Championship for a while. You remember when Brock won the championship? Remember when Brock won the championship? And they didn't do anything to elevate the U.S. titles or the Intercontinental title, and barely anything to elevate the tag titles. And the women's championship wasn't in that great a shape either because it was still the Divas Championship. Remember how they could have elevated the mid-card titles then? They didn't. Yeah, that's what the situation would be. Your question is fine. The problem is WWE wouldn't do that. They wouldn't be smart enough to fucking do that. And it's like the same thing when the Universal Championship wasn't on Raw for the longest goddamn time. I mean, I'm sorry, the Intercontinental title, yes, you had some good people competing for it, but the show felt rudderless. It was like a rudderless ship. It didn't fucking work. You need a champion on each show. Combining the championships, if it's something that Fox and USA can agree with and they don't mind a champion going between networks, whatever. The problem is it's not going to elevate the mid-card titles because I don't think Vince gives a shit about them. He doesn't give a shit about the tag titles, clearly. I mean, NXT, yeah, but that's a totally different brand. No, I don't think Vince would be smart enough to want to elevate the Intercontinental and US titles. I don't think he cares about them. Your question and your idea is fine. I would be for it, considering the fruit roll-up belt, as I call, the Universal title, and it was shit. And yes, I admit that the fans of SummerSlam 2016 shouldn't have shit on Balor and Rollins, but the belt was shit, and still is shit, and looks like shit. But no, they wouldn't elevate any of the mid-card titles. They wouldn't give a shit. They got rid of they made the Intercontinental title fucking afterthought. It took The Miz working his ass off to bring it back, even though there were some good champions before that. And even then, it wasn't treated all that well. The U.S. title, sorry, there just isn't. Nobody fucking cares. No, not enough people in the company care to make the titles mean anything. They just don't care. So no, I don't think WWE would do anything with that. They could, but they won't. And then we get to the final question. BSG 103079. God, I already got through all those questions. Amazing. I didn't think I would. Let's see. He says, as I turn the page because I'm an idiot and unorganized, do you think the Codys promo last week is the best promo of the year? It's up there. That whole thing about killing the Attitude Era, facing Dustin at Double or Nothing. Yeah, it was pretty goddamn good. And you could tell Cody meant a lot of what he said. Probably meant everything of what he said. Cody is one of the best talkers going. Yeah, people can say, oh, he's self-serving, he's this kind of stuff, he's trying to get himself over. Well, people said the same goddamn thing about Dusty. I'm not saying that Cody is Dusty. I mean, he is a son. But I'm not saying that star power, character, whatever, that it's the same thing. But don't fucking tell me that Cody hasn't, put in his time in the ring and doesn't know what he's talking about. I mean, you can not be a fan of the guy all you want. It's okay. I'm not trying to say people should be. But the guy has put in his time. Has he, maybe, found a way to get influence to book himself in certain things? Sure. What the fuck person wouldn't do that? Do I think he's going to make himself champion of AEW at some point? Probably. Whatever. It's not like he'd be the first booker or the last booker to do anything like that. As far as the promo, yeah, I think it's up there. It's damn close. Gargano cut a promo on NXT TV that was pretty goddamn good. This is the best promo of the year so far, though there's other stuff that's right there. But come on. Now that I think about it, we can't ignore the best promo of the year. We can't ignore the best promo of the year. Ronda Rousey, about Sasha Banks. What did she expect me to do? Cut off my hair and wash her feet with it? You dumb fucking Sandy Hook denying cunt. Good fucking God. I can't believe I managed to get through a video without saying the word cunt. Until now. Because I'm such a cunt. But no, seriously, Cody's promo was great, but come on, Ronda's promo, that was the greatest one. Because it was so meme-worthy. Because she's a fucking idiot. I wish her and Travis Brown nothing but the best as far as having kids, but fucking Christ, don't have her talk. What does she expect me to do? Cut off my hair and wash her feet with it. Codys Promo was great, but I'm sorry. That one's just going to stick out in my mind more. That's all for the questions, though. I'm amazed I actually got through these as quick as I did. Thank you guys so much for sending in questions. I will make sure to try and do them on Fridays as long as I'm not having to work way, way late. So I will make sure to post the questions once again. I will make sure to post the tweet where you can send in the questions. Use the hashtag #AskForHonesty. I'll post it Wednesday mornings. Leave it as my pinned tweet. Please use the hashtag there when you respond below. Leave a comment here. Find me in DM, send questions. But thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate it. Like, share, subscribe. Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I will see you soon.